Hello and welcome back to the Crew Motorfest. Now, I want to give a massive thank you once again for the developers for letting me check this game out early, and you see that volcano just ahead that we are headed towards? Yeah, we are going to be off-roading on that volcano in a monster truck, and all of that is coming up in the course of this video, so make sure that you keep watching if you want to see all of that. But before we drop into the monster truck, we actually have to switch to a land vehicle and actually drop onto the top of the volcano itself, and that just so happened to be this Lamborghini in particular. So give us just a quick second to go ahead and switch over to the monster truck. So we got to go ahead and bring up the menu, and as you can imagine, well, dropping from airplane height may or may not have, well, scraped up the Lambo a little bit, but don't worry about that. It's fine. Absolutely 100% fine. And now all we gotta do is go ahead and bring out the Silverado monster truck, and we're pretty much good to go. Now, driving around on the top of the volcano was definitely something that I wanted to do, but I also wanted to see how far I could push this thing, right? And by the way, look at that freaking gorgeous view. It's absolutely wild how high up you are, but not only how high up you are, but how far you can see. You're literally above the clouds to some degree, and that, like, just to think about that in the kind of context of what you're doing here is absolutely nuts. So as you can see, we're going to go ahead and launch ourselves down into sort of the center of the volcano before we go down the actual outside edge of it. And then once we start going down the outside edge of the volcano, you'll realize very, very quickly how high up you actually are. And the sheer scale of this place even makes this monster truck feel tiny. It makes it feel so small. And when you realize that this volcano is so enormous that it makes even a monster truck like this feel, you know, just absolutely tiny, I think it really starts to put into perspective not only how big, look at that, not only how big the map is, but how big the volcano is. Also, perfectly executed double barrel roll. I would like to go ahead and give myself a pat on the back for that one, because that was perfect. I don't think I could have done that any better, nor do I think I could ever do it again if I tried. I legitimately think that that was pretty much a one-off occurrence that I don't even know if, like, you gave me a time period of, like, okay, here's 10 hours to try to do that again. I might be able to, but I still highly, highly doubt it. Now, you can see the city out there in the distance. You can see the gorgeous beaches, and you can see how the water sort of interacts with the beach and the coastline. I love how you can see the different colors of the water. You can see the different kind of shades as the water gets deeper, you know, as you look further off out to sea. And it really, again, drives home the point of how incredibly beautiful this game world is. We're going to go ahead and turn around and head back up the hills now. And at this point, I was just trying to get a little bit more familiar with how the off-roading felt, how the truck actually drove, and sort of just exploring around and having a good time with the game world. Now, one thing I do want y'all to keep in mind, though, is as we get a little bit closer to the end of the video, we're going to be switching into another vehicle that is very, very special. It's also quite hilarious, and it's not a monster truck. It's something different, but make sure you hang around to the end of the video, because we're going to be bringing out a vehicle that is, let's just say, quite interesting and hilarious and entertaining. But back to the monster truck at hand. As you can see, there's all sorts of different opportunities to be had for off-roading out here in this part of the map. Multiple different sides of the volcano that you can climb, different mountains, different, like, rock obstacles, and apparently there's also more opportunities to attempt double barrel rolls again, should I decide to do that. But when it comes to climbing back up the sides of these mountains, you actually are able to climb quite a good ways before you sort of reach the vertical limit of what the vehicle's capable of in terms of grip. Because once you reach the vertical limit, you're kind of in a space where the grip has sort of run out. The grip is sort of run out and you're just either spinning or you're going backwards, but you don't reach that threshold for quite a while. You're actually doing quite a bit of climbing before you reach that threshold of not being able to climb any further. Now, momentum helps a lot, obviously, because as you can see, right here, we're kind of at the point where there's not much more we can do, and it just starts spinning. However, as long as you find a little bit of an incline that you can get a little bit of grip on, you can start to weave your way back and forth and pick up some extra speed. It doesn't work everywhere, but it does work here, and I'm sure that if I spent enough time really trying to dig into what routes would work best up the side of this mountain, I'm sure you could find one that would easily take you all the way to the top. You would just have to really kind of drive around a lot and investigate as to where those routes were, because some routes are going to work, some routes are not going to work. Now, when you compare the feel of off-roading in the Crew Motorfest to the way it felt in the Crew 2, I think it feels really, really good in Motorfest, actually. I think it feels really, really good, and it does things that you would expect it to. Like, I didn't start to spin in this monster truck until I got to, like, inclines and angles where I was like, oh, we're, like, getting close to vertical now. You know what I mean? And so it was never like, oh, why can't I climb this? It was more like, oh my god, I am mind blown that I'm even climbing something this steep. Let's see how far we can actually take it. So that's what I kind of wanted to try here, is that I wanted to find where those limits were, because it's always a really interesting thing to do in any open world racer that lets you go off-road, when you go to try to find the limits of how far you could push something off-road. And this was definitely a great time, because here's the thing. Once you're done climbing up the side of the volcano, you get to absolutely rocket launch yourself back down. Now, you might have some people out there that are going, why are you just driving up and down the volcano? That's not what this game is for. And I would argue that it is absolutely what this game is for, right? Because when you're done doing races, whether that's like, like kind of career mode, like single player races, or online races, or, customizing your character, or whatever you might be doing. For me, I sometimes, in an open world racer, I just want to go do wild, wacky, almost mindless things, and off-roading in random areas of the map has always been one of those wacky things that I have always gravitated to in open world racing games, and this game is no exception to that. Now, I found this almost like chute that not only was it fun to climb up, but I'm sure it would be hilarious to go back down. And once I got to the top here, I was like, why don't we just, like, keep going and see how far we can actually get? Now, let me know in the comments down below what you are excited to do in the Crew Motorfest. Are you going to be doing a lot of off-roading? Are you going to be doing a lot of racing? Is it gonna be more of a, social experience with your friends for you? Like, what are you excited to do in this game once it launches? Because I know for a fact that I'm gonna be spending a lot of time in this game, whether that's like, whether that's with others or just hanging out within the game world, because it is genuinely a beautiful game world. And we kind of launched ourselves into a bit of a, we kind of went for some doom there. I don't know. I don't know why I decided that launching myself into oblivion like that was a good idea. But either way, it's how we ended up down here, almost on our lid once again. But it is pretty impressive, though, to me, how quickly you can get from the top of the volcano all the way down to the beach, while jumping over things and rolling and flipping and flying around. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping that I would do another, double barrel roll or something in there, like, on my way back down. Didn't happen, but I tried. I was hoping it would happen. Now, I know I promised y'all something a little wacky at the end of this video, and don't you worry, I have not forgotten, because we're gonna go ahead and pull up right here, and we're gonna switch vehicles. Now, what are we going to switch to, you might wonder? Well, it's not going to be anything that you were expecting. It's not going to be a supercar. It's not going to be a boat. It's not going to be a plane. It's not going to be a rally car. It's not going to be an off-roader. It's going to be a drift-tuned limousine, a drift-tuned Crown Vic limousine, and I was not in any way, shape, or form expecting to find this when I played the game, and I found it, and I was like, oh, that is not going to just be there without me getting a chance to drive it. Now, obviously, as you watch this, know ahead of time that I am far from having my drifting skills polished in this game, and this was some of my first times actually trying to like properly drift in this game, so there are some hiccups. There are actually quite a few hiccups, and when you're also drifting something this long, it makes it a little tricky to avoid traffic. Traffic becomes a much bigger issue when you're about as long as, well, you're not quite as long as a city bus, but you're kind of getting there. Like, I was in my head, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go around the outside and avoid that Ford Focus, but instead I just ended up driving almost out into a field. I had a couple of good-looking slides, and then, well, again, I tried to avoid traffic, and I went off into the grass and took out a guardrail, and that was that. So, drifting this thing is no simple task by any means. Like, physics-wise, it's simple, but avoiding things-wise, it's not anywhere near as simple as you might think. Now, it's definitely a car that I would love to do more with in the future. I think it'd be hilarious to, like, actually put together a, you know, some kind of wild, like, drift montage with this thing. I think it'd be just hilarious in every possible way. Or even if you did some kind of, like, you know, mountain drifting Toge special, but with a Crown Vic limo, that would probably be one of the most hilarious things you could do. But with that being said and done, y'all, if you enjoyed this video, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I will see y'all next time.